I know you're enjoying your lunch, and I know I can sense the energy in the room about how much you're enjoying today's conversation. Um, I'm really excited to introduce our lunch keynote speaker. Jenna Saucedo-Herrera is a very, very important colleague and close friend of me and of UTSA. And I say this because I think pretty much the first day that I arrived at UT San Antonio back in September of 2017, one of my first things I absolutely wanted to do was to infiltrate what is now called Greater SATX, our Regional Economic Development Organization, to get on the board because I had been on the equivalent of those organizations when I was in Tennessee and when I was in Lubbock and when I was in Durham, New Hampshire, and I believe deeply as a former chief research officer in the absolute connective power of a university and an economic development organization. What's remarkable and amazing about Jenna and her team is that, and I told you this last night, we are in the sixth biggest city in the United States. The economy of Texas is immense. It has the eighth largest GDP internationally. It's a global GDP. Our relationship to Mexico is incredibly important from an economic and cultural perspective. And this notion of where the next Silicon Valley might be for whatever it means to be is actually sitting here, and it involves the sort of Judge Sakai spoke to it a little bit last night about, he calls it his diamond, but there's this nexus between Nuevo Leon and Texas, and it involves Monterey and San Antonio and Austin, and all of the things that are happening here about how we do regional economic development and how we coordinate are completely tied to the efforts of Jenna and her team at Greater SATX. Jenna, when she's not here doing amazing work, is traveling with Governor Abbott around the globe, working on bringing very large corporations here to Texas, and especially here to South Texas. And what's happened over the last, I'd say 10 years with Jenna's leadership has just been profound. But I also will say to you that this is not the first time Jenna and I have had a chance to be together talking like this. And in fact, if I think I were to count them up, she and I have done like panels or town halls or fireside chats probably 3 or 4 times over the last 8 years, talking about the things we're going to talk about today and what we've been talking about. And it's all about the dense ecosystem of opportunity that we have here. Obviously, our focus with this meeting is about the digital infrastructure and securing it. But the economic opportunities here in Texas and South Texas around biomedicine, around advanced manufacturing, around aerospace, around logistics, fintech, all of these things are really critical to our ecosystem here. But Jenna knows this, that I have a warm place in my heart for AI, data, cyber, and computing, obviously, because of our new college we're bringing online. But I also happen to think that the efforts that we have in that space align with and benefit all of those economic sectors that Jenna gets to worry about. But if I were to pick someone here in San Antonio that who understands this ecosystem and its potential, if I had to pick someone who knows that so well and can speak to it, it would be Jenna Saucedo-Herrera, the president of Greater SATX. She has a long and storied career. She was formerly the VP for Public Affairs and Brand Management at CPS, our obviously the utility you just heard about. But she also is underneath all of her excellence, inside her is also a student athlete who excelled in college as a softball player. I can't remember what position was it, Jenna? Second base. She was an awesome second baseman. So without further ado, I want Jenna to come up to tell us about the world. Jenna.
How's that for a bio? I need to take Taylor with me everywhere. My goodness. Thank you. Thank you for that. Well, good afternoon. How are we feeling? Excellent. Now that you're fed or being fed. I'm excited to be here with you today at the Competitive Conversations Conference titled Fortifying the Future. And if I'm being honest, I just wanted to repeat that title, Fortifying the Future, because it's a good one. So to the planning committee or whoever came up with that, thank you. It's a very powerful title. And the key decisions that each of you are making around this room daily can absolutely help fortify our country's future or not. First, let me extend my gratitude to Dr. Taylor Amy for the invitation to participate today, to the organizers of the conference for bringing us together to have these types of critical conversations, and to each of you for being here to share your expertise and your ideas. I looked at the roster of participants and I can see the familiar faces in the room. I mean, this is the who's who making these decisions for us, not just in San Antonio and Texas, but for the future state of critical infrastructure security in the country. It's fitting also, if I can add, that we're gathered here today at San Pedro 1, UTSA's School of Data Science, to talk about critical infrastructure, a space designed to convene academia, business, government, and defense leaders with the ultimate goal of driving innovation aligned with San Antonio's core strengths of defense and security. And of course, there's no greater time than now to engage in civil discourse for a greater good. I'm not being political here, but I will say that I'm sure the sessions that you've had today and will have been productive and hopefully semi-therapeutic for you as well. Today, San Antonio is home to one of the most advanced cybersecurity ecosystems in the country, fueling innovation, securing our national interest, and creating a world-class workforce. That's what vision, investment, and collaboration can do. And those three elements are key to driving San Antonio's momentum. And speaking of momentum, good afternoon, Commissioner. Let's talk about Texas, because Texas is momentum. Where we're at today in San Antonio, Texas, you're in the fastest growing city, in the fastest growing state in the country. And there's a reason for that. If you're keeping up with the headlines, and rest assured, I know that there are so many right now. It is certainly not a slow news cycle. But if you're keeping up with the headlines, you know that Governor Abbott just recently unveiled his economic development plan that will continue to keep Texas's momentum going. Working in partnership with economic development organizations like ours, like Greater SATX, representing the 8-county San Antonio region, and organizations across the rest of the state, we will continue to position Texas as a global hub for emerging technologies, research and development, and business growth. Today, as Dr. Amy mentioned, Texas is the 8th largest economy in the world with a $2.7 trillion GDP. So that makes us larger than countries like Canada, Russia, and Italy. And we're actually on track to surpass France to become number 7. We also, the state of Texas level, account for 22% of U.S. exports. And we're continuing daily to attract industries of the future, expanding infrastructure at an unprecedented pace, just ask Chairman Bruce Bugg at TxDOT, and setting the standard for competitive economic development. Texas is the best state for business, a title that we have held now for 20 years. We've earned the title as well as the headquarters of headquarters, with more than 300 businesses having established or relocated their corporate headquarters to the Lone Star State in the last decade alone. That includes Victory Capital, Pabst Brewing, and Nisei, and others right here that have relocated their headquarters to San Antonio. Texas also recently became the state with the most Carnegie R1 research universities. I'm going to just pause. We need a slow clap for this one because California was at 11. That was the previous record. And today, thanks in large part to UT Health, we are at 16. Thank you, Chris Cook. We need a round of applause. 16 Carnegie R1s. That is a huge deal, you know, as it relates to the knowledge economy and what we're trying to do, what each of you are trying to do in research and development space. That is a huge deal for San Antonio to have surpassed California. And our Texas lawmakers, we're actually in session right now, they continue to lay the foundation for the next chapter of our growth. And if you can bear with me for a little bit, I'm going to talk about some big investments that the legislature made last session. So in the last legislative session, lawmakers passed the Texas CHIPS Act. This legislation led to the creation of the Texas Semiconductor Innovation Consortium and the Texas Semiconductor Innovation Fund, obviously to leverage Texas's investments in the semiconductor sector, encourage expansion of semiconductor capacity, and to enhance the capabilities of Texas's institutions of higher education. So think about this. This level of investment has propelled Samsung's investments right up the road, and also Tower Jazz here in San Antonio. These investments are critical for Texas to maintain its leadership position in semiconductor manufacturing, ideally to reduce foreign supply chain reliance. Further, the CHIPS Act ensures secure and reliable access to semiconductors for defense, cybersecurity, and AI-driven purposes. Today, Texas is a leader in semiconductor activity and has actually been the top semiconductor exporter in the United States for 14 years in a row. In addition to semiconductor chips investments, Texas is also poised to lead in the final frontier of space. Governor Abbott's creation of the Texas Space Commission last year is a strategic commitment to becoming a leader in the global space industry by enhancing the state's role in civil, commercial, and military aerospace activities. Of course, Texas has long been home to NASA's space program, but it's quickly becoming home to private sector space companies as well. Companies already based in Texas include Axiom Space, Collins Aerospace, Firefly Aerospace, and Intuitive Machines. And of course, SpaceX has investments in South Texas, and they're currently in the process of relocating their headquarters as well. And right here in our backyard, Southwest Research Institute has actually conducted more missions for NASA than any standalone single facility. Now, for the opportunities and challenges ahead, and here's where I'm going to spend the lion's share of my time. None of this is new to you. I saw the agenda, I saw some of your sessions, but I want to make it real. I want to make some of these challenges and opportunities very real and applicable for your discussions. The global economy, as we know, is evolving at a pace that few regions can keep up with. The demands of modern industries, particularly in semiconductors, clean energy, artificial intelligence, and advanced manufacturing, are truly unprecedented. The scale of the investments required is staggering, and many communities across the United States simply cannot respond fast enough. But here in Texas, and particularly in San Antonio, we are meeting the moment and planning for our future. We are actively preparing sites, expanding critical infrastructure, and making strategic investments in water, power, and digital connectivity, all essential to attract and retain industries of the future. Our economic development strategy in the San Antonio region is to invest in our people and our place to secure quality jobs of the future. Ideally, these are jobs that are growing economic mobility and creating pathways to prosperity for San Antonians. On the people front, we are proud to have grown educational attainment outcomes, as defined by 2- and 4-year degrees, by over 6.4 percentage points in the last 5 years. For reference, that's faster than any top metro in the country. We're very proud of that, due in large part to Dr. Amy and the work of his peers across our 16 colleges and universities. Being that we're 60% Latino as a community, and that we demographically represent the future face of not only the state of Texas, but the United States of America, we also are educating a significant population of first-generation students. So we like to refer to ourselves as a net producer of talent here in San Antonio. And on the place front, we simply cannot talk about economic growth and national security without a reliable infrastructure. Texas and San Antonio must lead in to securing the energy and water resources that our industries and residents depend on. Power. Power generation is the topic du jour right now across the country. If anybody pretends that power challenges in your regional communities are unique to your regional communities, they are way off track. This is a dynamic that we are all working with really around the world. But in Texas, our grid must expand beyond traditional energy sources. Investments in solar, wind, battery storage, and next-generation nuclear technologies must accelerate to ensure grid reliability. And San Antonio CPS Energy leads by example, blending renewable investments with grid resilience planning. But like the rest of the country, we remain challenged. Let me just put this into perspective for you. The average power requirement for a deal, an active project in my project pipeline, the projects that my team is working today, is 40 megawatts. That is up from 8 megawatts 3 years ago. So when I say these investments are staggering, ladies and gentlemen, they are huge, right? And so everyone is working from a capacity perspective to figure this out. But it's also a timing game as well, because we can build, but we're working through the timelines for transmission line build outs, et cetera. ERCOT, or the Electric Reliability Council of Texas, has said that the demand in our great state will nearly double by 2030. So about 130 gigawatts, up from 85 currently, which could lead to a 50% consumption increase. Meanwhile, we're receiving projects. I had an RFI last week that required 1 gigawatt of power for one single project. Perspective. This is our reality. What's driving the growth? You all know it better than I do. AI, quantum requirements, data centers, semiconductor, and battery manufacturing. As you all know, one AI search requires 10x the power of a standard search. Additionally, as a data point for you, in the first 11 months of 2024, 145 data center projects, 145, were announced across the United States and Canada, representing $87 billion in direct investment. In 11 months, 145 data centers in 2024. And of course, discussions around securing these critical infrastructure investments can be a keynote of their own. And so I'll leave that for another panel session this afternoon. Water resilience is equally as important in these conversations. With rising demand and shifting climate patterns, securing sustainable water supplies is, of course, essential. The San Antonio water system has become a national model with its diversified supply strategy, including aquifer storage, desalination projects, and of course, Vista Ridge, a 142-mile-long pipeline project ensuring that we have capacity for the foreseeable future, with enough water to supply over 200,000 households. Having said this, though, water can't be built like power capacity. And we need to double down on infrastructure upgrades to ensure that we are preparing the state of Texas for needs in the future. Infrastructure upgrades, water recycling, regional cooperation, we've got to meet our water needs. Now, the silver lining. Unlike many cities, San Antonio actually owns its power, its energy company, and its water utility. This provides a unique opportunity to implement long-term solutions that prioritize local economic development and security needs rather than, of course, short-term corporate profits. Because we're regulated locally, and we can be a bit more nimble and creative. For those of you outside of the San Antonio market, basically what it means that the city of San Antonio owns CPS Energy is that Jake and his team transfer 14% of their revenues back to the city of San Antonio, about $1 million a day, for fire, police, and basic needs. It is a very, very productive setup that some very smart people came up with in 1942 when they acquired the utility asset. As I mentioned earlier, this type of vision, investment, and certainly collaboration, even as it relates to CPS Energy's governing model, is what differentiates San Antonio. Our economic roots and collaborative discipline culture can be traced back to our military history. Long known as Military City USA, our strong economic foundation is based on the work performed by the DoD. Everything from manufacturing and aircraft maintenance to the discovery of life-saving treatments on the battlefield that can be applied to civilian use. Our private sector industry development has benefited greatly from the military. Our region's military installations remain strong assets and driving forces of our economy to this day. With over 80,000 active duty and civilian personnel, Joint Base San Antonio is not only the largest joint base in the country, they are by far our largest employer and our largest industry in the San Antonio region. When we look at the current state of our world and contemplate how wars are fought and won in the 21st century, the reality is that our current iteration of warfare is biological and cyber. And the research happening right here in San Antonio is fueling our national security and defense efforts today while we speak. This is something we can be very proud of while also guarding closely what this truly looks like from a national security perspective. The intelligence and research capabilities we offer in San Antonio are helping to shape how the U.S. prepares for and responds to these future conflicts. As you well know, Joint Base San Antonio houses key U.S. DoD cyber operations and the Air Force's Cyber Command, and we're home to NSA Texas as well. The National Security Collaboration Center at UTSA and private sector investments have further solidified San Antonio's role in the cyberspace. This collaborative ecosystem between government, agencies, research institutions, and industry leaders ensures that San Antonio remains at the cutting edge of cybersecurity advancements. Furthermore, San Antonio is home to the second largest concentration of cybersecurity professionals in the United States, trailing only Washington, D.C. Companies and government agencies recognize the region's unparalleled talent pipeline, driven by institutions like UTSA, which boasts one of the nation's top-ranked cybersecurity programs. With the rapid acceleration of artificial intelligence and data-driven security threats, San Antonio is uniquely positioned to provide solutions that enhance both national and economic security. All of this to say, I firmly believe the moment we are in right now is critical for San Antonio's positioning as the ideal location to house some of the decentralized federal agencies potentially relocating outside of the capital region. There we go. He might or might not be in some of those conversations. Beyond cybersecurity, San Antonio is emerging as a national leader in life sciences, biotechnology, and healthcare innovation. Our region is home to Texas Biomedical Research Institute, one of the world's premier infectious disease research facilities, which has been at the forefront of combating global health threats like COVID-19. The Pfizer vaccine R&D was conducted here in San Antonio, and even Ebola. There are only 2 private BSL-4 labs in the world. There's one in Japan, there's one in San Antonio, and we're about to build our second. So when President Taylor Amy says we are investing in our infrastructure, we are investing in our future, we are indeed. Coupled with the South Texas Medical Center, which boasts a cluster of hospitals, research institutions, and healthcare startups, San Antonio offers a unique environment where innovation meets real-world application. San Antonio also benefits from its strong military medical presence. SAMC, the San Antonio Military Medical Center, is the largest hospital in the Department of Defense, leading the way in trauma care, regenerative medicine, and combat casualty research. The region's robust ecosystem of research institutions and medical training facilities provides an unparalleled pipeline of healthcare professionals and biotech talent. With investments in bioscience manufacturing, advanced therapies, and medical technology, San Antonio is positioning itself as a hub for the future of global health and life sciences innovation. And then beyond cybersecurity and bioscience, Greater San Antonio is also emerging as a critical player in the private space industry. My pipeline speaks for itself in that regard. Leveraging our strong aerospace sector, our military assets, and growing commercial partnerships, our proximity to leading aerospace hubs and deep history in aviation and defense makes it an attractive location for space-focused investment and innovation. And I would be remiss if I didn't mention how UTSA is helping us advance in the space industry. Just a few short months ago, UTSA announced the launch of the Center for Space Technology and Operations Research. This new research center is dedicated to advancing engineering, technology, and operations that will support space missions between the Earth and the Moon and the lunar surface. The center will address the growing demand for research and workforce development by civil, commercial, and national security space agencies and companies. UTSA already has 35 researchers and 200 students working on space technology-related research. And on the city's west side, I already mentioned Southwest Research Institute once. I'm going to do it again, Adam. They are excellent. They are doing research in all areas from deep sea to deep space. The Institute is a leader in space science research and spacecraft instrumentation, avionics, and electronics. Researchers there are working every day to reveal the secrets of our solar system and the universe. And if I can bring you back down from the universe to San Antonio, let's talk logistics, because President Amy mentioned a little bit of this in his opening as well with regards to our positioning in Central Texas and in close proximity to Northern Mexico. Our San Antonio region, we sit at a crossroads of North American trade, with key routes running north-south and east-west, creating a seamless connectivity network that fuels the continent's economy, spanning from Austin into the north of Mexico. Our mega region is one of the most dynamic economic zones in the world. This corridor, powered by manufacturing, energy, innovation, and trade, will make it a critical driver of economic growth for both the United States and Mexico. And if we continue to align our efforts effectively from an infrastructure perspective and both people and place, I believe that that corridor with San Antonio as the anchor up through Austin, back down into northern Mexico, will be one of the most dynamic employment corridors in the world within the next 2 decades. Texas leads the nation in trade, exporting more goods than any other state. Our region alone accounts for $270 billion in annual trade between the United States and Mexico, with Texas handling 40% of the total trade with our largest trading partner. In less than 3 hours, south on Interstate 35, you will reach the Port of Laredo, the busiest trade hub in the United States, reinforcing our role as a gateway for global commerce. This strategic position makes our region a prime destination for global investment, a launch pad for multinational corporations looking to serve the entire North American market. And at the heart of this economic success is our investment in workforce development. The San Antonio-Laredo-Monterey corridor boasts a combined workforce of over 10 million people. That's what we're pitching to companies all over the world. That population has a deep expertise in advanced manufacturing, aerospace, logistics, and other high-growth industries. And of course, that skilled labor force ensures that businesses locating here have access to the talent they need to thrive. Our binational talent pipeline efforts only continue with UTSA's dual cybersecurity program with Monterey Tech and Alamo College's partnership with Tech Millennial. The binational, bicultural partnerships matter, and they will continue to differentiate San Antonio. At a time when our world and federal policies are so uncertain, let me assure you of one thing: San Antonio is certain. We understand the opportunity that lies ahead, and we know that our region and our state are well positioned to meet the moment. That doesn't mean our work will be easy. We know for a fact that it will not be. This work is well underway, though, with the esteemed guests in this room today. And forums like this help us continue to align opportunities for greater collaboration. If I leave you with one thing today, I want you to know that our San Antonio story is one of momentum, investment, and continued collaboration. As emerging industries and opportunities arise, we are looking ahead to our future, working to align our investments and operations today to secure our place as a leading hub for cybersecurity, AI, life sciences, and space, with the ultimate goal of bettering the lives for San Antonians. Thank you for your time today, and thank you for your commitment to our future.